It's late. I should be in bed, but the whole idea for a podcast was originally my nesting partners because often, right when it's time for me to go to bed, because of capitalism, I have to be up at 5:30 in the morning. But my brain wakes up at night, wants to be up all night, and so like right when it's time to go to bed, my brain is going into overdrive, and I'll go off on these rants, and my partner was like, "You should start a podcast." So I wanted to get this one. The whole part of the whole thing was like recording these things because I don't write. My hand's been broken. Well, my hand's been broken, and I was born left-handed, and my father made me write with my right hand. So my handwriting was already sloppy. But then my hand has been broken, so I can barely read my own writing. So recording is a lot easier for me. Um, but I haven't been recording these. I just have these thoughts late at night, and I don't write them down. I don't record them, and that was where the whole idea of a podcast came from. So I just watched Conan, well, part of it, because I'm supposed to be in bed. So I turned it off, came to bed, and I'm not in bed. And it's funny because I saw the movie when I was younger, the TV edited version. I had no idea there were so many titties in the movie, and seeing it now, I'm kind of at this point where almost everything I see has a spiritual context to it. So Conan is a classic hero myth. I mean, it hits all the major points. And when you're watching this movie, you might say, "Oh, it's corny. It's corny '80s movie," and it is. And it's outdated, and it is. Parts of it didn't age well, but it also is mythology. Like it hits all the classic storytelling that has been around for since the beginning of time. Um, Conan is definitely an archetype, and to me, it was indicative of what I have been through recently in the last year, the last couple of years, the last several months, is realizing, and it's funny because I just finished telling my life story. I haven't all uploaded. I have more videos right now than I'm like behind on getting them uploaded because I just bought a new computer. My computer was so slow. I just got a new computer today, so hopefully I'll be able to start getting these videos out faster and more consistently. My old computer would literally take 10 minutes just to turn on. It's like a $300 computer I bought 10 years ago. It's barely limping along. So the healing journey that I've been on and am on is realizing that I am not a victim. All of this stuff that has happened to me, all this trauma, and I didn't even I just gave a picture. I didn't say every single event, every single thing that happened to me, every single traumatic event. It would, one time I just typed out, it's easier to type than it is to write because of my hand. And I typed out just a list of um, traumatic things that happened to me. And again, not every event. Just like my dad beat me. I didn't write down every single time he beat me. That was every day for a couple of years of my life. And so it's just items. And like my third marriage is just it's just Randy, and that's not every single thing. And all of this trauma hurts your heart. It sticks with you. And it's part of mental health. Like trauma and mental health are inseparable, really. And so all of these things have hurt me and hurt me and hurt me and hurt me until I can barely function because I'm not processing this trauma. I'm not processing my feelings because we don't live in a healthy society that teaches people how to feel, how to meditate, how to process your feelings, how to heal from trauma. America is just suck it up and keep going. That's it. Just don't think about it. Just choose to be happy. This toxic positivity is not, everybody out there who is pretending to be happy every single day. One day it'll bite them in the ass. One day you just can't do it because there's too much, it's just every day you're going out there and getting a little bit of trauma, a little bit of trauma, a little bit of trauma. And you can look down on mentally ill people and say, well, I can control my emotions. Why can't you? Because we're mentally ill. But be careful of your cockiness because it can happen to you. One day, just something you get it could be something simple. It could be something serious. My dad used to say, and he was an asshole. He is an asshole, but it didn't mean I didn't learn stuff from him. He used to say like he'd go out and work hard all day, come home, pick a piece of paper up off the floor, and throw it out his back. And now I just turned 46 last month, and I'm in the same boat. I just sometimes just some little tiny thing can throw your back out, and you can't even walk. I've had to crawl to the fucking chiropractor more than once. Um, and mental health is just dismissed in America. It's just dismissed. It's just like, just get over it. Just deal with it. You went through a car wreck. You went through a breakup. You had a death in the family. Somebody yelled at you. The list is endless. Just ignore it. And that is indicative. That's how you prove that you are worthy to function in society. Literally in America. America operates on you suppressing your feelings and shutting the fuck up and being professional every day, all day at work and even outside of work because we're not allowed to be real. We're not allowed to feel our feelings. We're not allowed to process our trauma. We just have to get in the saddle and ride. We grow up with movies of people experiencing horrible trauma that a lot of action movies, the motherfucker would be dead, like 10 minutes into the movie in real life, I can't remember the name of the movie, but I was watching an action movie where the martial arts movie where this dude bodily picked up another dude and cracked his head into a guardrail. Like, okay, you're dead now. But the fight scene went on for 10 more minutes. This is, the power of media, the power of the stories that we tell ourselves are extremely important. This is part of magic, part of spirituality, part of psychology. The stories that our culture tells to itself in movies and TV shows and books, these are stories that is creating our culture. And these stories are like, we've created this archetype of the man typically, but there's a lot of movies. I'm thinking of, Jesus, I can't ever remember names of things. That's why my partners are all my memory in computer banks because I can't remember shit. Red is a movie I've seen recently. Several others. Anyway, that's not even important. I'm going off on a tangent. That people, not men, people who go through ridiculous things that would in real life, probably kill you. And then they continue to, usually win and meet their goal, even if they die at the end. They did what they needed to do. These are myth arcs. These are the same stories being told and told and told because that's how we tell stories. That's a very important part of our existence is telling stories. But our society, our capitalist, patriarchal society, tends to focus on certain stories. And this is a big story in our society. And we even in real life look up to people who go through tremendous trauma and keep functioning. Think about soldiers, athletes. This is what our society, even actors, like an actor that does their own stunts gets more respect, and some actors insist on doing their own stunts to the detriment of their health because they want that hero awe, that hero worship. This is all part of the myth making of our culture. And it's dangerous because there's a part that's missing. It's okay to have the hero, the person who goes through a lot of shit and accomplishes something. That's really all of us. All of us are living that story. And that's the whole point of this talk. But there's other stories. There's other story archetypes. There's other story, think about Hansel and Gretel, any fairy tale, any myth, there's a lot of different kinds of stories. But that one type of story, the hero tends to get told a lot in our culture because capitalism is about shove your fucking feelings down and do it, because our society could not function if we're all feeling our feelings. Capitalism depends on us all shutting our feelings off, getting up at 5:30 in the morning and going to fucking work and shut the fuck up. I know you don't like it. Nobody likes it. Nobody gives a shit. Shut up and do it. And our fathers and grandfathers and great grandfathers for 400 years have been doing this to build America. That's what they say. But into their minds, it's worth it to make that sacrifice of yourself for this culture of America. But the younger generations are seeing the end of that story, the end of capitalism. We are going through a time of transition, that will probably outlast, this is not good. This is the story of an empire crumbling. It's going to take a long time. They say Rome fell in a day. It did not. Rome was not built in a day, and Rome did not fall in a day. Rome fell over several hundred years. And America is the empire since World War II. So even though we're living Rome, in fast forward, like Rome spanned 1,000 years, the American empire is lasting a couple hundred, because technology and money are speeding up the arc of the empire. And so it's a good thing that we're seeing the slow fall of capitalism. It needs to. And those of you who like capitalism, like, nobody's saying that you can't have stuff. I think that's really what it comes down to. People are like, I don't want to give my money to other people. You're doing that already. Like, that's a dumb argument. Like, that's how society functions. How do you think we got to space? How do you think we fight wars? How do you think the freeways got there? How do you think schools exist? You already are giving your money to other people, and other people are giving their money to you. That's part of living in a society. Shut the fuck up. That's not the point. I think what a lot of people fear is, I still want to have stuff. America is like in an orgy of stuff for the last, since the 80s. Probably longer than that. But seriously, since the 80s. And we don't want to go without our stuff. We don't want to be without Walmart and Yahoo and endless amounts of shit that we don't need at our fingertips all the time. And yeah, you can't. That's not sustainable. Eventually, we will not have that. Does not mean we will be living in a hole in the dirt, poking sticks at the wolves trying to eat us. Calm down, relax. Civilization is going to continue. But things like Amazon can't last that long. It's mass consumption. It's not natural. It's not natural. Everything happens according to the cycles of life. And if you and America is all about growth. Okay, if you grow really fast, then you die really fast. It's like one of my partners is talking to a tree. Now, see, that's where the magic comes in. That might sound insane, but trees are actually very easy to talk to. If you want to get into talking to spirits, interacting with spirits, trees are very friendly and very open to us. And just about anybody can talk to a tree. I don't have. I'm not very sensitive, magically, psychically, but all of my partners are more sensitive. They're all better than witches than I am. I read constantly about magic and I do magic, but all three of my partners have more juice than I do, and it's amazing to have be dating three witches. That's just absolutely awesome. Three gender fluid, anarchists, intelligent witches that keep me on my toes. It's great. But one of them is talking to a tree that's dying and going through that grieving process with the tree, and it's a cottonwood tree. And cottonwoods grow very, very, very fast, but they don't live that long. Oak trees that grow very slowly last hundreds of years. Redwoods, things that have a long lifespan move more slowly. Turtles. That's just the natural life. That's just so this and everything is a system. Everything, you can't avoid nature. We are nature. So we create the economy. The economy is going to follow the processes, the flows of nature. It doesn't have a choice, because anything we create is, there's no such thing as unnatural. Everything is natural. Everything is of the earth. Even this weird shit that we make that we have to, radioactive waste. We made it from materials here on this earth, and it follows the laws of nature just like everything else does. So does technology. So when we have an economic system where if there is 1/4, this is how much pressure and stress America is putting itself under, unnecessary. If there is 1/4, 3 months, where there's not a profit in the books, a CEO will get fired. That's crazy. Like, we don't need to be that serious about it. We don't need to be that greedy, because and that's why we're destroying our own economy, because of this mass push for growth. You grow fast, you die fast, just like a cottonwood tree. Um, so these stories, going back to Conan, of people going through ridiculous things and still going, is a deep part of our culture. But there's also a spiritual lesson to be had here, because Conan was fated. It said that, like, in the first minute of the movie, was fated to sit on the throne, fated to do big things. And fate's a bitch, because the universe needs certain things to happen. There's a story that's being told. We are going to a certain destination. What is it? We don't know. The story is being told over thousands and millions of years. We are part of that story. And the universe needs certain things to happen. So the universe needed a big dude who knew how to fight, a big person, very strong, who knew how to fight, to do this task, to destroy this evil snake cult thing. And so what seems like accidents in Conan's life, when he was a young child, his entire tribe gets slaughtered. And then he gets put into slavery and put into hard labor. And the hard labor makes him grow up to be this big, massive dude, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then because he's big, somebody buys him and makes him into a slave, gladiator. And so then he learns how to fight. And all of this seems like, oh, all these horrible things are happening to this person. But do you see, like, it's all the universe made it happen because it needed a hero to destroy this cult. And you're like, oh, that's harsh. Yeah, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, fate, life, it doesn't have the same ethics that you and I have. It doesn't belong to our culture. In its mind, what's important is that this evil cult that is out of balance with nature needs to be destroyed to bring balance back. So I need a badass motherfucker to do this. Well, you gotta be a badass motherfucker. You gotta go through shit. Like, we have our own heroes, special forces. Well, any soldier, but the special forces are like the heroes of our society. Well, their training ain't no fucking bullshit. You have to go through pain to be a badass. It is this necessary requirement. If you're going to be fit, you got to go to the gym, and that hurts. Pain is the only teacher, and that's a hard thing to hear, but it's true. The most important lessons you've learned in your life, you learn the hard way through pain. You don't forget those lessons, but you have to go through trauma to get there. The problem that we have in our society is we've been traumatizing ourselves for generations, and the younger generations are like, no, I am not going to traumatize myself. I'm not going to voluntarily traumatize myself for this bullshit fantasy that's fallen apart. It hasn't done me any good. Capitalism hasn't done nothing for me. So I'm not going to sacrifice myself to this cult of money because it's not working for me. It's the American dream. They just shat on the younger people, not thinking that they're going to be the voters one day. They're going to be running things one day. That's how life works. So intentionally fucking over the millennials, that was done intentionally, is eventually going to bite us in the ass because they're not going to participate in the system that fucked them over. Game over. Capitalism done. Right? Cool. Awesome. But a lot of people are walking around barely functioning and not functioning. Mental illness is at a crazy, well, a ridiculous level. So I don't know anybody that's not dealing with either depression or anxiety or both, at least minimum. Like, the amount of people that I know personally that had anxiety 3, 4, 6 years ago compared to today is easily tripled. And I'm talking about the same group of people, And I see it every day all over the news. This Karen phenomenon, that's mental health. Like, somebody who is mentally healthy is not going to walk into a store and start screaming at strangers. That is indicative of the mental health pandemic that is happening in America, and it is indicative of why are we so unhealthy? Well, we're so unhealthy. We got to this point, this mental health pandemic, because we ignore mental health, because all of this stuff is happening, and we're still not even talking about mental health. Like, you don't hear in the news, oh, this person walked into the store, started screaming at everybody. God, they really need to get help. They need to go to get therapy. What the fuck is that? Go get help, my guy. Talk to somebody about this shit. What's wrong with you? What's going on? Who hurt you, my guy? There's no talk of that. And it's seriously, it's mental health. Mass shootings, what the fuck is that? They say, oh, these people aren't mentally ill. You don't do something like that unless you're mentally ill. Mentally healthy people, spirituality, spiritual health is mental health. It's the same fucking thing, because we have a spirit, we have a soul. Psychology has to stop ignoring the existence of the soul if it is to actually be effective in its job. And psychology is now moving back towards spirituality, with IFS and other modalities that are recognized, depth psychology, that are recognizing that we are spiritual. And if you're going to heal somebody, you have to include the soul in the healing process. But half of America still doesn't even is still not even having that conversation. That's why I insist on using words like magic, because other people create systems and they say, "Oh, this isn't magic. It's positive thinking. It's mind science. It's intention. It's people come up with all kinds of words to skirt around you saying magic, saying spirituality. That's what it is. And we have to the healing in America that has to happen, that is a part of capitalism crumbling, part of that, a necessary part of that process. Why is it crumbling? Because it's not healthy. Why is it not healthy? Because it ignores our mental health and our spiritual health. Well, then why are we fighting against it? Because we want to be able to claim our souls and claim our health. And we cannot do that in this unhealthy society. So part of this process of capitalism ending and going on to the next thing, whatever that's going to be, hopefully a better thing, hopefully a less stressful thing, hopefully a kinder thing, is bringing mental health and spirituality into the conversation nationwide. Everybody needs to be educated and be talking about their fucking feelings. That is part of the goddamn process. We all have to change the way we think and live and interact with each other. We have to stop expecting everybody to be professional all the time. People need to be able to express their emotions in a healthy, safe way. That's part of the process. And part of that healing process, for you personally, is realizing that everything you've been through is for a reason. You're not a victim. When I look at my life like Conan, I'm not a warrior. But what am I? I never thought that I was going to end up being a spiritual teacher or a pagan minister or whatever is happening here. That's not where I thought my life was going. And I'm halfway through my life, more than halfway through my life, and I realized, oh shit, this is everything that has happened in my life has brought me to this point. And I've been through a lot of pain, and all of it was for a purpose, to turn me into something. You can learn the lessons, or you cannot learn the lessons. But the pain is there for a reason. That's difficult to hear. Because when you're talking about that, you're talking about abuse as well. And it's difficult to hear that I went through abuse and that was for a reason. But that is a spiritual way of looking at the world. Because I'm not just talking, like, this whole thing is not just for pagans and people who are already spiritual. I want to be reaching out to people who don't have a background in spirituality and be like, magic and mental health, what the fuck is that? Like, I've tried psychology, I've tried pills, I'm still fucked up, I'll listen to anything. So I'm trying to say, like, those people, it's changing the way you think, changing the way you understand the world, changing the way you understand the story of your life is part of the healing. You cannot heal if you're going to hang on to that guilt and anger and hate and sadness and fear of all the shit that you've been through your whole life. Is that all, as they say, are those feelings valid? Absolutely they are. But you've got to feel them and then let them go. That's what you have to do with your emotions. So with your mind, you have to accept the fact that, yes, life does have a purpose. We're all not just floating through a fucking rock Like Nietzsche is not the fucking thing, you know. It's not. This. We're everything is spiritual. We are having a spiritual experience. There is a story being told here. There is a fucking point. What is it? The point is the entire existence of the fucking universe, from beginning to end. It's a gigantic fucking story, and we're just a little tiny. We're a pixel in the giant picture. Can the pixel see the whole picture? No. I think I understand the big picture more than most people do through all the spiritual shit that I've done for 20 years. Well, my whole life, really. But even I don't understand the whole thing. What is life all about? Just to live and exist, to trust that there's something happening here. There's a reason for this. I don't know what it is. I probably will never know. Probably no one will ever know. But something is happening. There is a story being told, and we are part of that story. And for me to be who I need to be, for me to be the Conan had to go through horrible things in order to be the badass motherfucker to take down this cult. And in order to heal, I had to go through pain. And so did you. There's always a reason for it. There's always a reason for everything. It's not easy to hear. Believe me, trust me, I know. Go back and listen to the story of my life. I'm not trying to dismiss anybody's pain. Anything that has ever happened to anybody. Definitely some things happened to you that you had no control over. And yet there's a point. There's always a point. I love you, and blessed be.